There we go. So we are live. That's how we like to start out. We're live. We got Rebecca. She's checking her hair, making sure she looks good for the camera. She's joining me on screen. Anyone else, feel free to join me on screen. It's always nice to see your smiling faces. It encourages me because I'm not just staring at myself. All right? Very good. Today we're talking about the RLA, the Residential Listing Agreement. And we actually taught this class back in June of last year. When did the new residential listing agreement come out?
June.
I was going to say anybody but Rebecca, but clearly she's already spit out the answer there. So yes,
I don't know. According to this screen right here, I'm only going to count 3 people in this class because I don't see no other faces. They're all hiding from us.
They're here. They're here.
I don't see no other faces.
Right on. So yes, absolutely. It was June of last year. And so believe it or not, and this is how things change. When we taught this class last year, June, the new document, it actually came out and we taught a class using the old one. So we needed to redo this class so that everybody is abreast as to the new listing agreement that's out there. So when we sit down with our clients, we're actually using the right documents because we don't want to have them sign the incorrect document and go back and sign it again because we look like we don't know what we're doing. So I'm going to go on ahead and throw it on the screen for everyone so we can take a peek at it. That's what we're going to be spending our time on right there. What you see on the screen. I hope everybody's excited for it. And we are going to just go ahead and dive right on in as soon as I get my screen back up for you guys. Awesome. There we go. So RLA, as you can see, it's highlighted there. It's in color. It's easy for everyone to see. Feel free to ask any questions as we go along. Stop me with anything that you got. I don't have all the answers. I really don't. Okay. We're here to learn together. But the RLA, make sure if you're printing this out, if you're ever using it, you've got the one that says Revise 620 right there at the top of the screen. You'll see that here. All right, everybody should be able to see that. I think I can actually draw on this bad boy. Yeah, I should be able to still draw on this if I want to. Let me just make sure that I got my colors set. So that way, if I need to make any other adjustments, I'll be able to do that while we're working here. All right, should be able to draw on this bad boy. Boom. When we're filling this out, we're going to move through this first portion pretty quickly because this is the easy part, right? The date prepared right here. Yes, we can draw on it. Okay, sweet. Hang on. That was a mistake. I need that to be transparent. There we go. We can draw on this. I can draw on this. We need to have the date prepared right there. That's the date that you wrote this document. Okay. This is, of course, not the listing date. All right. We got over here highlighted who the seller is, who the broker is. That goes on those top 2 lines because we may not fill this out digitally. You may take this as a blank one. I would encourage you. All of us as agents, this is a new practice that I have. Carry with you at all times a blank listing agreement. You never want to be at the point where someone talks about listing their home and you don't have the documentation right there on it. If nothing else, just this right here with your PRBS, the wire fraud advisory, the agency, and I think that's everything. Maybe I'm missing one because I went backwards. Yes, Rebecca's shaking her head. But have that, I would say, have those documents with you blank. So if at any point someone says, we're thinking about it, you've got it right there because the opportunities can come and go just like that. All right, they sit down with someone else. So here we go. The beginning date. Beginning date, this section right here. This section right here. This is when it's going to go live. All right, and we have, well, how many days do we have from the beginning date, from when this here says that it's going to start, to put this into the MLS? Talk to me. Anybody besides Rebecca?
Didn't they shorten it to 1 day?
1 day, absolutely correct. We have 1 day, 24 hours basically from when we get this signed to get it into the MLS. So our beginning date. So again, you just remember, you can have this prepared today, but your listing doesn't start for a week. So that's still fine. And then of course, whatever your end date is going to be right here. Typically, how long should you take a listing for? What's the minimum you should take a listing for?
I say 45, but I've seen 30.
30 days. Yep. Rebecca's got her number for 6. I typically like to do 6 months. That's what I like to do if possible. We got one signed yesterday. We tell them it's 6 months. We hope to get you signed before. We hope to get you sold before then, but a lot of things can happen in that process. Escrow by itself is 30 to 45 days. So as soon as if we open escrow and I don't have the timeline and it's long enough, I have to do an extension to this. And it's just more paperwork that we can avoid. All right. So that goes right there. Of course, the address is going to be without speaking about, that the address goes there. We've got a couple boxes that I want to bring your attention to right over here. We're going to just draw on here. Boom. Got some arrows. If the property is manufactured, you're going to have a separate addendum that goes with that. So remember the manufactured addendum. Check the box. It's going to be a part of your listing agreement. All right, we're not going to go over that today. If you have a probate listing, there's another little arrow we're going to draw for you guys. Hopefully it'll pop up. Didn't quite work. That's okay. But a probate, there is also another addendum that you're going to have for that one there. So be advised of what the extra addendum is going to be should you have something apart from just a standard sale. All right. Of course, pretty easy. We don't need to go over this too much. Is the price. You're going to discuss that with your client, what the price is going to be. It'll be written in numbers here, or they're written out here. And then, of course, the numbers would be over here in the dollars portion. If there's any additional listing terms, I've never used this myself, but if there's any additional listing terms, you're going to put that right over here on paragraph 2B. All right, let's get into the nuts and bolts. Everybody with me? Rock on. Compensation to the broker. Who would be brave enough to read for me what's highlighted in extra pink there and in bold? Who would be brave enough to read what's on the screen there under the notice for compensation to brokers?
The amount or rate of real estate commissions is not fixed by law. They are set by each broker individually and may be negotiable between seller and broker. Real estate commissions include all compensation and fees to broker.
There it is. They are not set by law. Make sure that you're having that conversation with your clients when you sit down with them, because some people believe that it's just a set number that it's going to be. And no, you get to negotiate that while you're sitting down speaking with them. All right. In this first section here, seller agrees to pay compensation. In this first box up here, if you're brand new to real estate, you've never filled out an RLA, in this box here, you check it and you write the full percentage of the commission. If it's going to be 4%, you're getting 2, the other side's getting 2, the 4% goes here. If it's 6%, you're getting 3 and the other side's getting 3. It goes here. 5.5, same difference. You get 3, 2.5 the other way. Whatever the case may be, it goes here in that percentage box. If for some reason you're working outside of the commission framework that we typically use, and you're going to have a specific number or price that you're charging, flat rate, I guess we'd call it, you're going to check this second box down here, and the number is going to go in there. What happened? Don't do that to me, buddy. My little line's not drawn. It'll go right in that line right there. Okay? Everybody see that? Very good. And of course, any additional terms go in this portion here. How you get paid. All right? How you get paid is 1, 2, and 3. If during the listing period or an extension, the broker, compensating broker, seller, or any other person, if anyone sells that home, all right, it's accepted by the seller, the broker is entitled to compensation. Okay? This is an exclusive listing agreement. That's what the first line says. The next line over here, number 2, says if within a certain amount of calendar days, after the end of the listing period or an extension or any cancellation, you have provided a prospective buyer who, number 1, see we have number 1 right here. I'll put a little circle around this guy so you see him, who physically entered the property, or number 2 right here, we'll circle that one as well, or who signed an offer at any point during that that agreement period as well, you would be entitled to compensation. That is, as long as you within, let's just put in here, maybe we'll write a 30 in here. Maybe my little numbers will work for me. We'll make that into a 30. No later than at the end of the listing period, I'm right over here on this line here, no later than the end of the listing period, or any extension or cancellation, you give written notice of the names of prospective buyers. So in order for you to get paid for the sale of a home in which someone entered that home or they wrote a contract for it, you have to provide to that seller a written notice of those names, all right, within the time frame specified that you dictate, and you between you and your client say what that time frame is. Typically I do 30 days, okay? And then last is, if without the broker's written consent, the property is withdrawn from the sale, lease, rented, or otherwise transferred, or made unmarketable by a voluntary act of the seller, you are still entitled to compensation. Everybody follow me there? So those are the three ways of how you get paid. You get the job done, right? You have somebody come in while you were trying to get the job done who still buys it, or if the seller makes it impossible for you to do your job, all right? Make sure you're able to explain that to your clients when you sit down and you have them sign this document, because they've never seen these 5 pages before, and it's our job to make sure that they understand what they're signing. Don't say, okay, this is the first page, this is the price, it's commission, initial at the bottom, okay? Now, moving right along, it says, if the completion of the sale is permitted other than the seller, I'm on right here, B. This is paragraph, I think it's 2B, I'm on 3B. 3B is where we are, all right? If it's prevented through other than the seller, all right, something happens and they're not able to sell the property, it's not the seller's fault, you can get paid only after the seller collects the damages and is equal to lesser than 1/2 of the damages recovered or the above compensation if it reaches that threshold, okay? After they first deduct escrow expenses and expense of collections. Everybody follow me there? That's if it's not the seller's fault, they didn't do anything wrong, you can still get compensation, all right? Now, here we go. In addition, seller agrees to pay brokerage, you can put something there. If there was some bonus that you wanted to write in here, you could put that in that space there. Typically, I leave that blank. And moving on to 3D, seller has been advised to the broker's policy regarding cooperation of the other agent. This says that you are authorized to cooperate with the other agent and give them their portion of the commission. You put in this box over here, let's circle this box that we've highlighted here, what that, if you're going to have a percentage, what that's going to be, you put it right here on this line. All right, everybody follow me right there. So if it's, again, if it's 3 and 3, then it's 6 at the top, right here, in this line here, 6 at the top there, and down here would be the 3% that's going to go to the other agent, right? And then, of course, if it's a number, whatever that dollar amount is, it will go in this space here. All right. Next, right here, if the broker is cooperating outside of the MLS, they are also entitled to a compensation as well. So this first one here, number 1, talks about those cooperating with the MLS. The second talks about those operating outside of the MLS are still entitled to compensation as well. All right. To protect yourself. All right, let's go to 3E where it says seller is hereby irrevocable assigns to the broker compensation. Broker may submit this agreement for instructions to compensate. So this is basically instructions to escrow that how I'm going to get paid based on this right here. That's what that line is right there. Then get into paragraph F, 3F right here. This is if you're talking to somebody that maybe some other things were going on before you showed up and you want to protect yourself. So I would make sure I go over this with my clients. Seller represents that they have not previously entered into a listing agreement with someone else. Hey, just want to make sure there's no other listing agreements out there. We've had this happen. We bring this up because it's actually happened in our office. I've talked about this in a previous training where we had an agent get a listing signed only to find out that they had already signed with another brokerage. Just a whole big mess there that had to be cleared up. Number 2 is the seller warrants that they're not responsible or obligated to pay brokerage compensation to anyone else. And if there is some people, say for instance that it was listed, it didn't get listed, they had some people that came in and those individuals were on that list of names, they need to give you that list of names of people that are potentially, if they were to purchase the home, then you would not be compensated. And it specifies that right there. Seller is not obligated to pay the brokerage if they are not entitled. Let's just read it. If the property is sold to anyone listed above during the time, the seller is obligated to compensate the other broker. All right, so you see that there right at the bottom, and then you would not be entitled to a commission and you would not be obligated to represent them. Any questions on what we've covered so far on page 1? Make sure always you're getting these initials, guys. All right, you're getting these initials. All right, don't forget to get your initials on your documents when you're getting these filled out. All right, we're going to jump on over to the next page now. Items included and excluded in the sale. Let your clients know. All right, let them know, please. People want to take stuff out of their home. All fixtures and fittings attached to the property are included in the sale. Personal property is excluded. All right, you see that there? Make sure they know they can't take the ceiling fans. All right, those if they're going to take the ceiling fans are coming off the ceiling prior to listing it in a box, ready to go to the next home. Okay, we're not taking pictures of it because that's a fixture. Okay, make sure they know that if they're going to make any change like that. If they're going to include anything, or rather exclude anything specifically that they want to write here, they're excluding that chandelier, that they got from wherever, and they want to put that on there. Then you want to write that in there, and again, you want to tell them, let's get that chandelier removed immediately. If they want to include the pool table, or they want to include the outdoor furniture, maybe they want to put that in here. You could write that in here so we remember in writing what we agreed was going to be included in the sale. However, that being said, don't forget what it says underneath here. The seller, this says right here, this is what the seller intends, but they understand that the purchase agreement, there it is. Let's go underneath that bad boy right there. What does the purchase agreement do? Well, somebody read what it says there. Just those 3 words. Please, somebody read that for me.
Supersedes any intention.
Purchase agreement supersedes any intentions or anything that's written here. Okay, that's our contract when we sell. Okay, there's no guarantee that the exclusions or inclusions will be a part of that purchase agreement. All right. When you're sitting down, why are you highlighted blue? Mercy. There it is. Leased or not owned items. Oftentimes, how many of us have sold a piece of property with solar? How many of us have sold a piece of property that had an alarm system? Right? How many of us sold a piece of property maybe had a water softener on it? Right? All right. These are leased items. Right? So we need to know what those are so we can get that information. Liened items, the same applies. That's when we ran into our hero loans for doors, windows, HVAC systems, solar panels as well. You need to know what those are. And then right here at the bottom, it says the seller will provide to the buyer as part of the sales agreement copies of those documents. So you want to make sure that you get your hands on those documents up front so you can review them to make sure that these things are transferable. Had a client who had an alarm system, and they're like, oh, maybe we can give it to the buyers, but they're in a contract with that alarm company, and that's not transferable. So they literally have to buy out that contract, and then leave basically the components of it there. And if the buyer wants to, then they can move forward and start service. Everybody follow me on that one there? Awesome, awesome. Very good. Multiple listing service. What is it? We'll move through this one pretty quickly. Multiple listing service just simply is subscribers conducting public marketing of the property listing must submit the property information to the MLS. All right. In that MLS, we're going to include price, terms, and conditions. And then, of course, right here, let them know this goes on the MLS. Offer of compensation to other brokerages. That's going to be very clearly stated in the MLS so that they know. Okay. That's what the MLS does. It is that's where it begins, I should say. All right. And also the MLS that we work with may reciprocate that information to other MLSs that we belong to. Like we have CRMLS, and of course that goes out to other MLSs as well. All right. Not only that, the MLS may further transmit, let's highlight this right here, boom, may further transmit information to internet sites and post the property on those listings online. All right, so once we put it on the MLS, boom, it can go anywhere and everywhere. What information is provided to the MLS? Again, it talks about here, sales price, financing is talked about, and where's my number at? All of that is provided, of course, to the MLS and may be provided to MLS of property listed outside of the MLS as well. And then it just says right there, seller consents to having broker providing a copy of the listing agreement to the MLS if required by the MLS. So you say, we sign this document, it can be turned over to the MLS. We've agreed to all the terms that are therein. All right. On this next one here, I actually missed this. Go ahead, Rebecca. Can't hear you, Rebecca.
Back up to the water softener thingy.
Back up to the water.
Where it's like leased or leaned or whatever it said.
He's talking about right here, guys.
Yeah. So if the water softener is already paid off, does it go into the additional items excluded if I decide I'm taking my water softener with me?
That's a great question. Thank you so much for asking. If it's paid off, again, if it's a fixture to the home, so if I don't want it, then I would need to remove it from the home. And anyway, the way that I tell my clients is if anything that you want to take with you from this home, we need to remove it from the home prior to getting it listed. Because once we list it for sale and it's seen, it's a fixture, it's attached to the property, it goes with it. Okay? So I would have them take it off. Why are you
I
shaking?
don't like that answer.
Well, again, you have to remember, as it states right up here, all fixtures and fittings that are attached to the property are included. Okay? So because of that, if I have a water softener system, that's a fixture that is attached to real property. So if I want to take it with me, someone comes in and say, why is the water softener gone? It's like the Ring doorbells. People they took the Ring. You can't take the Ring doorbell because the Ring doorbell is a fixture attached to the home. So if you want to take that with you, we need to take that off, put a regular doorbell on before we list, because those are fixtures.
Okay, so got it. No, my next question is, where on here would an agent put that the seller's paying the TC fee? I don't have very many, but I do see it occasionally.
The place where I would tell an agent to put that would be right over here under listing terms. Because this is where we're talking about the dollars here, and this is the only place where you can actually kind of write in something. Or you could put it in here where the seller agrees to pay the brokerage a compensation for services, where the "and" section is right here. So those are the two places that I would say that you could put it on the contract. Okay? Everybody follow me there?
Thank you.
Very good. Great questions. Thank you so much. I know if one person's got them, more of us have those questions as well. All right, I was right here. I actually was filling this out the other day, and this little spot right here, believe it or not, I forgot to put it in there until I printed it off and I saw that it was missing, where it says, who is our MLS? So you want to make sure you're putting in this red section here where my mouse is. The MLS is the California Regional. So make sure you don't leave that blank. Put in the California Regional. The MLS is our primary geographic MLS. If it is not, then you have to check this box right here. Okay, so that your client knows you're using one that's not our primary. Okay. Any questions there? Benefits, of course, of opting in and using the MLS. This is where we explain to our clients why we use the MLS and what it's good for. Okay. First and foremost, all real estate agents and brokers and their potential buyers are seeing this data transmitted through the MLS, which also sends it out to internet sites. If you opt out of the MLS, then you understand that no marketing or advertising may take place to the public. Okay, real estate agents and brokers may not be aware of you selling your property. So you can tell me you don't want me to put on the MLS. Like I told a client the other day, I have no idea at this point how I'm going to market the property aside by going and knocking on people's doors and telling them it's for sale, right? You know, throwing flyers out all over the place, because this is how we get your home sold. We get it publicized to the world that it's for sale. All right. Point number 3, information about the seller's property will not be transmitted from the MLS to various real estate internet sites if they choose not to participate. Okay. Real estate agents and brokers, members of the public may not be aware again of the terms and conditions that are set forth. Again, it outlines reduction of exposure may lower the number of offers, critical for you to put that out to them, and negatively impact the sales price, right? Not listing property in the local MLS may, buyers and prospective sellers, or rather prospective and agents will not be aware that it's for sale. And you want to make sure that you have them initial this here. They initial it, and you as the broker or agent initial it as well, so that you've gone over very clearly what is the MLS, why we use the MLS. It helps us to get your property sold. We cannot do it. We can't do the best job possible if we do not use that. Okay. Now, all of that we've covered is for the most part 90% of what we've seen in the past. They've made some slight adjustments, but this right here is where we want to spend a little bit more of our time today, is the public marketing of the property. All right, here we go. The clear cooperation policy. This right here was unclear to me. Yesterday I was having a discussion with Rebecca about this, and so I want to make sure that everyone's clear on what is public marketing of property. We've been over it maybe once or twice, but again, I want to make sure that everyone is clear on this, explaining it to your clients. Any questions rather before we move forward to this? Everybody's ready to go. The clear cooperation policy. MLS rules require that residential real property, 1 to 4 units, and vacant lots all fall into the same group there. Must be submitted to the MLS within, as Brian said earlier, within 1 business day of any public marketing. Okay. What is public marketing? That's great, because that's where they go and make that abundantly clear for us in section B here, where it says public marketing includes, here we go, flyers, yard signs, digital marketing on public facing websites, brokerage website displays, digital communication marketing and email blasts, multi-brokerage listing sharing networks, marketing to close or private listing clubs or groups, and applications available to the general public. Right? That's public marketing. If we're going to do any of that, how many days do we have to get this listing to get this listing in the MLS? 1 day. Everybody's got their finger up. 1. Okay, it's great because they actually tell us what is not considered public marketing. Right? Public marketing does not include, here it is, guys, office exclusive listings where there is direct promotion of the listing between the brokers and licensees affiliated with the listing brokerage, and one-to-one promotion between these licensees and their clients. So if you take a listing based on that, someone tell me in layman's terms, what does that mean as far as if I take a listing and talking about it in my office?
In-house.
Brian's got 2 words for you guys: in-house, right? You can talk about it, you can promote it here in the office, but exclusively in the office. Is not considered public marketing. All right. The coming soon status. Everybody's excited about this guy right here. We'll put a little arrow by him. It's supposed to be an arrow. Let's try again. I can draw arrows. It'll work for me. Boom. Coming soon status. Impact on marketing. All right. Says sellers advised to disclose with broker the means of coming soon as it terms applies to the MLS. All right. Says property will be listed and how coming soon status will impact when and how listing will be viewable to the public via the MLS. All right. Talking about that. And then we've got a little box here for you to check. Seller does authorize brokers to utilize the coming soon status. All right. That's what this is saying. It says, coming soon, we can use that, and you're agreeing for me to start the coming soon process. If you choose not to do any coming soon, check the box. There's a box right here. We've highlighted it in red for you. Check the box. We're not doing any coming soon, just a standard listing. Okay? All right. If you're going to do the coming soon, there's a little bit that we have to go over in regards to, again, back to public marketing. When we go down to seller's instructions to the broker, excluding anything. So this is where I want you guys to understand, take a little bit slower in regards to that. Seller instructs brokerage. There's a form called the SELM, and it says seller instructs broker to make to market the property to the public and start marketing on the beginning date of this agreement or the date here. So if there is going to be a difference in date from when the public marketing will begin, all right, you have to put it here if it's not the contract date. Or if it's, and you have to use the SELM. So there's a separate form that you're going to want to fill out there. Okay, it says may require the SELM. Everybody follow me on that one? And then, of course, number 2, it says seller instructs broker not to market to the public. Seller understands that no public marketing will occur and that the scope of marketing that will occur consists of direct one-to-one promotion. All right. You check this box. If they say nobody, there's a box for you. Again, remember the boxes, guys. Boxes cost agents hundreds and sometimes thousands of dollars if you don't check a box. Check your boxes. Read your question. How many times should you read your contract before you submit it? Maybe to your TC or somebody. How many times would you recommend reading your contract? At least, Rebecca says 3 times. I say a very minimum of at least 2 times. Go over your contracts and make sure that you check the boxes. It takes you an extra 5 minutes and it could save you hundreds of dollars, right? It could save your clients being frustrated with you because you didn't get the job done properly, all right? Share a quick story. We'll take a pause, share a quick story. In regards to contracts, working with a client right now, she purchased a home, okay, with a friend who's an agent. And that agent friend, it was a contingent sale. So they're selling a home, purchasing another home here. They found a home that they wanted, went into contract with that one there. Some things went haywire. They needed to leave that contract and they didn't want to sell their home anymore. But because of some vague verbiage, is what they was described to me, they were unable to get out of the contract to sell their home. And therefore they were forced to buy another home that they didn't like. And now they've been there for less than a year and they're calling us saying, we want to sell that home and get into a home that we really love. Their agent didn't do a good job and their agent was their friend from what I was told, but they're not even using that agent anymore because the agent ended up having them sell a home that they didn't want to sell and buy a home that they didn't want. We never want that to be our story. So make sure that we're reading very clearly and we're explaining very clearly to our clients, the ramifications of everything that they're signing. Everybody follow me on that right there? Make sure that we are, again, those listing specialists, all right? We're the best at what we do at selling homes. Question, there it is.
Of course, it's me. I just need to understand so that I'm explaining to my agents correctly. When I sign a listing agreement, I signed my listing agreement today with David, but you are putting it in the MLS as coming soon today. So at the top where it says beginning date, it's today's date and it goes out till the listing period to 6 months. And you go through my contract and you say, okay, we're going to put it in as coming soon. You read that little portion where it says coming soon. You're putting it into because I'm not familiar with how you guys put it into the MLS. So you're actually putting in today's date where it says beginning period when you're doing the coming soon. And it still doesn't count the days?
No, it doesn't count any days.
Okay.
No days are counted until it's actually active. Good question.
Okay. I just want to make sure that I'm explaining it right to the agents that are asking me. That's how I've been explaining it.
Correct. 0 days until it's active. Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Very good. We are down to paragraph E here. Yo.
A question on top of hers, because I was actually thinking about that. On the first page where it says beginning date, that date is going to be different than the date on D for the coming soon date, correct?
If you're going to have a different date, that's only if you're going to have a different date. See, like for what I did, and there's a couple ways around this. Great question. Thank you so much. A couple ways around this. You can date it. Like, for instance, we did one and we said, okay, so you're not actually going to be ready for us to even do the coming soon for a week. So we actually dated the beginning date for a week out. Then I don't have to add any or change any other dates. We just know at that date then we'll start. So I don't get down here and have to figure out any of the other dates, add any other forms to the listing agreement.
Okay.
Oh.
When you don't, but because of the new coming soon option in the MLS, you don't have to put in a date there when you're using the coming soon. You have up to 21 days. So if I sign today and I say, okay, go live in a week, I'll be ready in a week. So when you go to put it into the MLS and you're putting a week out that it's going to go active, it's automatically switching from coming soon to active because that's the day you told it in the MLS system.
Correct.
So on D1, I don't need to put a date unless I'm excluding it from the MLS.
Correct.
So you still put it in the MLS within your 1 day, you do your coming soon for your week out, and then it automatically goes active,
Correct.
right?
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. We're all on the same page. All right. We're either all very right or all very wrong. No. We're doing well. Even our brokerage, our broker's looking at us. He hasn't shaken his head. So I think we're doing well, guys. All right. Awesome stuff. Very good. We're down to clear cooperation policy does not apply if they choose not to go along with this the clear cooperation policy, and it says broker shall disclose to the seller and obtain seller's consent not to market the property, and then you just make sure you check this box. All right. There's a box right there that says nope, I don't want you doing anything, and you're like, all right, cool, I'm not going to market it, I'm not going to sell it either, but well, I don't know how we're going to sell it. We're still sell it, I just don't know how. All right, your neighbor wanted to buy it, so we'll sell it to him. MLS data on the MLS. All right, this is some stuff that you want to explain to them, because when you go into your client's home and you're collecting this information, this starts being publicized, via the internet. We want to make sure that they understand what's being out there, and if they would like to opt out of something, the options that do exist for them. Right here where it says specific information can be excluded, and that information that can be excluded, of course, is the property address. All right, if you want to do that, you have to use the CAR form SELI. All right, and they are understanding them that if they opt out of any of this stuff, it limits the amount of exposure that we can get and the marketing that we're able to do in regards to their property. They can also opt out down here under feature opt-outs. They can opt out. Number one says these opt-outs may apply only to websites or electronic displays. All right. But number two says other internet sites may not have features set forth therein, and neither the brokerage or the MLS maybe have the ability to block such things. So even if they choose to opt out, say for instance, their address, which it states in here, once I put it on the MLS may not have it, but I don't even know how you would do that, but apparently it exists because it's here. I don't know how it would happen. The MLS would not have it, but if it goes out to Zillow or someone else, then we can't control any of that is what we're telling them, okay? And then, of course, down here, if we say that we don't want comments or reviews or an automated estimation of value, again, everything goes on that SELM form right there. We say we don't want that included, or we don't want that to be able to be done. We cannot control what takes place on other websites. All right? Everybody follow me there?
And you said SELM, but it's SELI. So it's just the internet exclusion.
There it is. Is this one right here, guys? Let me just delete this, and then we'll actually circle. That's our guy. Okay?
And it's not very common. So if you're on the call right now, it's not very common for this, but David's doing a great job. Just wants to make sure we understand every portion of this contract.
You guys are listing specialists. You understand every line of this contract, right? Rocking on. We're finishing up, believe it or not. Seller's representation. Go over this with your clients and let them know that they're letting you know that they are not aware of any of these following things: a notice of default, delinquent amounts against the property, bankruptcy, litigation against the property, any current or proposed special assessments. All right. I'm not aware of any of that. When they tell you, and if they should become aware of that, it says right here, seller shall, last line, last sentence, seller shall promptly notify broker in writing, seller becomes aware of any of these during the listing period or extension thereof. Okay. Now your job, brokers, sellers, responsibilities or duties. This is what you're supposed to be doing. This is where you're the expert. Number one, you order reports and disclosures. You advertise and you market the property by any method possible, including the MLS. You disclose real estate license to any real estate licensee making an inquiry, the receipt of any offers. And this one here, which no one actually does, but it says it here in the contract. I've never done it. Offering price of any such offers. Right? No one ever asks, so no one ever says. But it is in the contract, just so you know. All right? That's your job. You also agree to present all offers. You can't keep anything back, guys. Doesn't matter how ridiculous it is. As soon as possible, unless written instruction to the contrary. Say, I want my offer, submitted to your broker or to your agent, rather to your seller, this evening. It says, well, my client told me that they're not reviewing any offers until Saturday morning. Okay, so that's what it is. And as long as you got that in writing, you guys are in great shape. All right. The seller is going to agree to consider all offers presented, respond in a reasonable time, and the seller, here it is, they'll never get me on this one. Boom. Oh, that's too big of a line. Seller is responsible for determining, mercy, there it is, the price to list and sell the property. All right. Now it's our job as consultants to be able to guide them as to what would be the best price to list their home, but they're ultimately responsible. So at the end of the day, they shouldn't come back to you and say, well, you listed it for this much. We agreed together what the term was, and you set that price. Okay. Also, under brokers, sellers' duties, they agree if they should choose to a couple of options down here. Now, I personally don't use these, but they're actually pretty good. At least the first one right here. Structural pest control to be done within 5 days. Get that knocked out. Some agents say they don't do it, but I just say knock it out. It's like $90. Get it done. Then you don't have any surprises for section 1. All right. You and your clients already know. All right. A general property inspection, if you don't have a good checklist, which you actually should because we've given that to you, for what they can walk through the home and make sure that everything looks good and there's no health and safety concerns, you can have a general inspection done. And then this one right here is actually really good, where it talks about homeowners association documents and the fact that it's good for them to get that process started early because it can avoid any potential delays. Rebecca, talk to me. How long does it take sometimes to get HOA docs? What's that? Go ahead. Now I can hear you. No, she's still muted.
Okay, sorry. So it could take up to 10 or longer, depending on the HOA company. It does help when agents know the correct HOA company, because I do see sometimes where a community might have 2-3 different HOAs, and agent thinks it's HOA A, but it's really HOA B, and they go to try to order it, and so there could be a delay. So it's really important that they know who the HOA company is, because it can take quite some time to get those. You can do a rush, but there's no guarantee that it's really a rush.
Got it. Very good. So again, you're just letting your clients know, especially with that HOA stuff. Go ahead and again, this is where we become, again, listing specialists. We separate ourselves from the herd of just regular old real estate agents, right? As we're able to guide our clients and consult them to be able to have everything lined up and ready to go so that there's no delays in the process. You know, how many of us, have had our closings delayed because of some paperwork that wasn't done right, or that was delayed getting there, right? Everybody, right? So as listing specialists, we make sure that these things are done expeditiously and that we can actually close on time, because no one likes the phone call saying, yeah, we're going to be delayed another 3 days. What, really? As a listing specialist, say, hey, guess what? We're on time. Who likes that phone call, right? We're on time. We're going to get everything done like we said we would. Okay. Looks like my scan is a little blurry down here. Maybe hopefully you guys can see it. Talking about the seller agrees to indemnify and defend and hold broker harmless if there's anything material, facts, or claims, judgments, disputes against the property that they have not disclosed to you. All right. You're not responsible for anything they didn't tell you. And then, of course, this part's pretty easy. The deposit, it says here that we accept and hold deposit on their behalf. We do know that the deposit is going to go and be held in escrow. Agency relationship. Just make sure this box is already checked as long as you're doing everything right, as long as you're grabbing the right RLA and zip forms, but just double check. Make sure that your boxes are checked right there. The last thing that you want to do is have to go back and check a box that was missed. Okay. This 12B just says that the broker should represent in the transaction. And then dual agency. Rolling on down here, they got this whole little section on dual agency. Now there's a separate document, okay, that we have specifically to Century 21 preferred for dual agency, but it talks about it here as well in the contract. If you represent both buyer and seller, the broker shall, as soon as practicable, practicable, is that a word? I think that's what they say.
It is practical.
Practical. I don't know why it says. Doesn't that say practicable? I just can't read today. Whatever, guys. Sure, it's on the screen. You just have to disclose dual agency and let everybody know. All right, and that's what this is stating right here. What you want to make sure that they understand, if you're going to represent both sides, that you are going to keep private the financial position and motivations of either side. And that means whether or not the buyer is willing to pay a greater price or whether or not the seller is willing to accept a lesser price. It details that out there. You cannot disclose that. However, dual agent is still obligated to disclose all known material facts affecting the desirability of the property to both parties. Okay? Very good there. Any questions? We're wrapping up, guys. This is not a very long document like our RLA or RPA, but again, one that I want you to make sure that you're familiar with. Felipe, you got something to say?
I have a question. Let's see. Let's pick on somebody. So let's see. Melissa A. Can you hear us? Do you have a mic?
Sorry, what was the question?
You do have a mic. Okay. So Melissa, who is the newest realtor because she's not a realtor yet, do you think dual agency also means one agent from one company representing a buyer and one agent from the same company that represents the seller?
Yes.
Okay, correct. Ding, ding, ding. Now, in your honest opinion, do you think that you could ethically help, if you were a realtor, a seller as a listing agent, if you were also making the offer to purchase that property? Do you think your best interest would be in yours or in the seller's?
If I'm representing the
If you're
both
representing
seller
yourself to
and buyer?
purchase a property, that you're also the listing agent?
Mm.
My first question is that allowable? Is that legal?
Are
What do
you
you
asking?
think?
I just want to make sure I understand. Are you asking if it would be in my best interest if I was buying a home for myself? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying, do you think that you could handle that transaction and have the seller's best interest at heart? If you're representing yourself to purchase that property, that you represent the seller.
I honestly personally feel like it's a conflict of interest, but that's just my opinion.
That's fine. There's no right or wrong answer on that. But is it legal? Can you represent a seller that you're making an offer to purchase a property? What do you think?
I believe so. You just have to disclose it, right?
It is. You're absolutely right. So congratulations. And she's not even a realtor yet. This is awesome. So you can legally represent a seller and purchase that property and represent yourself. Do we recommend that, guys? No, absolutely not. Why do you think that is? Because how on earth can you go and face a judge if something goes wrong? How on earth do you think you're going to win when they say, wait, so you were representing the seller, but you were making the offer to purchase? How'd you come up with the price? How'd you come up with negotiations? I mean, ultimately, you're really representing yourself at that time, right? It's going to be very difficult for you to prove without a shadow of a doubt that you had the seller's best interest at heart. That would be tough because it's for your personal gain, right? Brian, did you have a hand or was that a clap for high five?
Clap.
High five. Awesome. So great job, Melissa. That was awesome. I just wanted to make sure everybody's aware. Dual agency doesn't just mean, I represent the buyer and the seller. It could also mean I represent the buyer and David represents the seller, and we're both with Century 21 Preferred. Okay, that's dual agency. So thank you, guys.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that. Absolutely. Great job, Melissa. She's a rock star. She's on her way. Confirmation here, D. Broker shall confirm the agency relationship as described above, of course, in writing. And then potentially competing buyers and sellers. Just going to touch on this for one quick second. You're checking the box, making sure it's checked. This is in reference to the PRBS, representing that, hey, I can represent you who's selling the home and your neighbor next door. All right. And whatever buyers that are out there as well. All right. And that's the PRBS that should be a part of your listing package. Security insurance showing in videos. This right here is where you protect yourself and letting your client know to protect themselves. Broker is not responsible for loss or damage, whether it's even attributed to the key safe or lockbox for showings of properties, right, from third parties, inspectors, buyers that are coming out as well. And so you are telling the seller that they agreed to take responsible precautions and to obtain insurance to protect against these risks, okay? And the seller is advised, you got to make sure they know this, if they have, oh, let it straight, darn it, whatever. Any existence of security devices or cameras, it needed to post that, and it needs to be let them know. You can't record people and not let them know. Okay, so just let them know that as well, because a lot of people have security systems out there now, and it's got to be posted that people are being recorded. All right, photographs and internet advertising. I believe I can summarize this portion right here for you guys, letting them know that when couple things. I've highlighted the portions that are important to you. A couple things. First and foremost, when pictures are taken, they don't belong to the buyer or to the seller. They can belong to the third party, that photographer, right? You and that photographer can do with those pictures as you choose to, because they belong to you. And once those pictures are taken and put out on the internet, they can go anywhere and other people can use them. All right. So let them know that if there's things that, of course, they don't want in photography, to put those things away when the photographer comes out. Okay. I think I can summarize that the best way there in regards to that. We don't need to spend a ton of time on it. Just, again, explain to them how the photography and internet advertising works. Pictures don't belong to them. They're yours or the third party that took them. And, of course, to protect themselves, they want to cover up anything that they don't want photographed. All right.
And that's also the section that the seller can opt out of photographs, which I don't recommend. It's not common and we don't ever see it, but they can opt out of photographs being advertised online.
And there's your box. We just circled it for you right there. All right. So don't forget that box. We did highlight it as well. So make sure you just read through everything we highlighted for you guys. All right. I try to, key safe and lockbox, letting them know that if they choose that you're going to put a lockbox on there. If they don't want a lockbox, you check the box right here that they've said that they don't want a lockbox on the property. All right. And that lockbox is going to grant access to inspectors, appraisers, workers, or also other agents that are going to be showing that property. And it says right there, it says right here, I'll highlight it: broker, cooperating broker, MLS, and associated boards of realtors are not insured against injury, theft, loss, vandalism, or damage attributed to the use of a key safe or lockbox. All right, so even though you put it on there, it says right there that you're not responsible. So again, that goes back to them having insurance and protect them. Of course, that's why we use Supras, because that does provide a greater degree of security for your agents, rather for your clients, not a combo box. All right, guys. And then, of course, if the seller, take this one right here, because some of you will be representing clients who are investors and they own property that's rented, that they're renting out. If the seller does not occupy the property, the seller should be responsible for obtaining the occupant's written permission to use a key safe or lockbox on the car form KLA. All right. So make sure you notate that if it's a property and it's an investor owned property. If you're going to put a sign on the property, which we hope you do, this tells you, the seller, that you're going to put that sign there. If they choose to not put a sign, I had that happen one time in my career. Actually took us longer to sell the home, believe it or not. They got to check the box that it's not going to be there. Okay. Equal housing opportunity. There's a whole nother 2 pages that go about with that's been added. So of course we cannot discriminate. Attorney fees. The non-prevailing party is responsible should you go to court for whatever reason. Additional terms. If it's REO, if it's short sale, if it's a trust. Mercy, my numbers are all over the place. If it's contingent. Oops. All of that jazz right there. You want to check those boxes and have those conversations about those addendums that go with your purchase or your listing agreement. Okay. Any questions on page 4 before we wrap up page 5 and get you all out of here?
If I'm related to the seller,
there is you would write that in here.
okay.
Would write that in here. So I can just put it on the line right there. Okay. You would disclose it there.
So any relation, I'm selling mom's house, I'm selling my brother's house, you probably the best place to disclose that would be right here, because you have those extra lines, additional lines. If you're incorporating any other type of addendums or contracts, you could also add them in here. Don't really recommend that, but just if you are related to somebody that you're working with, you want to make sure to disclose it on the form, on the contract, and then also over disclose. Make sure that when you open escrow, you put it on your counter offer as well, so that the buyer is aware, because this form stays between you and the seller for the most part.
Correct. Very good. Thank you. Of course, as always, we do have to have approval should there be something in this contract that the management doesn't agree to. They have the right to, within 5 days of execution, cancel this contract. All right. So if you took a listing for 0.5%, maybe they decide that that's just not the best interest for you or for the brokerage. I don't know. All right. All right. This successors and signees, if someone should be a successor to this or an assignee, it will be binding to them, is what that number 21 says. Dispute resolution. This is regarding you and the seller. It says that you agree to mediate any dispute or claim arising between them first, before resorting to arbitration. All right. We're going to sit, first and foremost, I tell my clients, we're going to sit down like big boys and girls at the table like we're sitting at right now. And we're going to, hash out any problems that we have before we even need to go to mediation. Okay. That's the conversation that I have with my clients. I don't know who you're working with, but again, make sure that they understand that they do have the option to mediate, but that does have to come before arbitration as it is agreed to here. And if one party should choose to skip the mediation process, all right, then they will be responsible for attorney fees, even if they are the prevailing party in that case. Okay. Matters, the following matters are excluded from mediation. Right, judicial, non-judicial foreclosure against the property, unlawful detainers, mechanics liens, probate, small claims, bankruptcy court. Okay, those are excluded from mediation. And then the last sentence here, read this one here, it says, the filing of a court action to enable the recording of a notice of pending action or less pendings for order of attachment, receivership, and so forth shall not constitute a waiver or the violation of a mediation provision. Okay, so if you have a less pending against the property, then that is outside of that realm of coverage for mediation. Okay. And if for whatever reason it comes to arbitration, okay, you're actually going to get the ARB filled out before you go to arbitration. Okay. Everybody follow me there? Any questions? We're at the end, guys. The entire agreement, this says right here that this supersedes all other conversations, negotiations that you had prior to this. And number 24 says that they authorize that they are the owner of the property and can sign to sell it. Representative capacity states that if it's signing on behalf of an entity, they're going to fill out the RCSD. And they're going to provide you that representation within 3 days of execution. Once you've got all that done, you've explained it, and hopefully you can do it in less than an hour that we did it right here with your client. You're going to have them sign. They're going to put their information here. You'll put your information there. And of course, they've got this little box right here because you might work with someone outside of your brokerage. And you will check this box here. You will fill out the form ABA. And you're all done. Any questions on what we've covered? Believe it or not, we're at 12:02. We're right on time. I want to bring this to your attention because Amber did a fantastic job of notating the fine details, guys. The fine details. I don't know if you saw it in the email, but see, I printed you this sample, but I thought I changed my address on everything, but I didn't. And look what it says right here. Boom. Century 21 Preferred, Madison Avenue. So make sure you go in there into your zip forms and you've updated your information so that it says Century 21 Preferred, whichever office you're at. Should be everything should be, I believe, the Rancho California address because that is the main office. Correct, Felipe?
Yes.
All right. So make sure you check that. I seen it today myself. It was called out to me. The fine details. Make sure those things are correct on all of your forms. Are there any other questions before we wrap it up?
No.
Can I interrupt really quick?
Mm-hmm.
I just want to let you guys know if you're not sure how to update your address on your zip forms, give me and Amber a call and we'll walk you through it.
Boom. There's the answer, everybody. So there's no reason to not have it all squared away today. So moving forward, all of your paperwork is correct. That's all we have for today. So if you missed this training, you can feel free to go back and watch the recording. We will post it onto our YouTube and Facebook page.